A communications disruption can mean only one thing: invasion.
It's Sunday, February 12th, 2023. Is this the start of an alien invasion? Probably not, but something is definitely going on up in our skies. Brew some coffee, pull up a chair, and open your mind. This is a bonus episode of Science vs. Conspiracy over coffee, where we'll be talking about the UFO invasion. We'll be right back.
This is Liz. I'll be asking for Jen today. Are these balloons that have been shot down since Friday, or are they weather balloons?
You want me to take
Thanks
that?
very much for the question. Yep, go ahead, Glenn.
Yeah, so I'm not going to categorize them as balloons. We're calling them objects for a reason. Certainly the event off the South Carolina coast for the Chinese spy balloon, that was clearly a balloon. These are objects. I am not able to categorize how they stay aloft. It could be a gaseous type of balloon inside a structure, or it could be some type of a propulsion system. But clearly, they're able to stay aloft. I would be hesitant to and urge you not to attribute it to any specific country. We don't know. That's why it's so critical to get our hands on these so that we can further assess and analyze what they are.
Welcome back. So it's been roughly a week since the U.S. shot down the alleged Chinese spy balloon over South Carolina. And since then, we've had a swarm of new sightings. It all started again on Thursday and into Friday when something was spotted flying over Alaska. They couldn't identify it, so NORAD sent up some F-22s or something like that, and it was shot down a few hours later. They couldn't identify it, but they shot it down. Yet the spy balloon, the alleged spy balloon, flew over the U.S. and parts of Canada before heading back to the U.S. For like 5 days before they did anything about it. And they could identify what that was. This, they couldn't identify, yet they still shot it down. So what's going on there? Then later yesterday, there was reports of another cylindrical object flying over the Yukon in Canada. And the order was to take it down, so they shot that down too. I've linked some images on our Twitter account with what people are describing as actual photos of this UFO that was shot down in the Yukon. I'm still trying to determine if this image is authentic or not. And now, Sunday morning, there's reports of China tracking a UFO over the Yellow Sea. That was about an hour ago that I read that, and I haven't heard any updates if they've taken it down or if they're still monitoring the situation. So what is actually going on up there? Obviously, there is something. Is it an alien invasion? Not likely, but...
Let's go to Helene Cooper, New York Times.
Hi, thanks, Pat, and thanks for doing this. This is for General Van Herk. Because you still haven't been able to tell us what these things are that we are shooting out of the sky, that raises the question, have you ruled out aliens or extraterrestrials, and if so, why? Because that is what everyone is asking us right now.
Okay, thanks for the question, Helene. I'll let the intel community and the counterintelligence community figure that out. I haven't ruled out anything at this point. We continue to assess every threat or potential threat unknown that approaches North America with the attempt to identify it.
One of the theories that I've come across has been that what they shot down in Alaska and the Yukon... Oh, I didn't even mention about Michigan this morning. Parts of Lake Michigan have been sealed off. And yesterday as well, parts of Montana. And over Portland. They sent some jets up to investigate some strange objects. So what actually is happening? So we started this podcast off yesterday, Sunday, and it's now Monday, February 13th. And while we were recording, so much has happened.
So much more has already happened in the skies. Have you been paying attention?
Yeah, when I was first recording, there was just a few reports of some strange object over Michigan, and that turned out to be have another object being shot down over Lake Huron.
Absolutely wild. I can't believe how many things have appeared in our skies over the last, week? Has it even been a week? When did the first Chinese spy balloon?
Yeah, the first Chinese spy balloon was shot down last Sunday afternoon.
Okay, so it's just been a week now.
Right.
Wow.
And it was reported, I guess, the Pentagon and Joe Biden were made aware of it on Wednesday.
Before that.
Before
okay.
that.
Okay. But still, I mean, that's a lot of stuff going down in a week and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So to summarize, there was the Chinese spy balloon.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the one in the Yukon.
Correct.
Is that the next one?
No, there was one before that.
There was one more before that, right?
Yeah, the one that was shot down over Alaska. That was Friday night.
Right.
And then Saturday morning, there was reports of another object over the Yukon in Canada.
Right.
And then it was shot down.
Because Canadian officials decided not to drag their feet on that one because the Chinese spy balloon had also crossed over Canada and nothing had been done. But anyway.
Yeah. Apparently, Canada took the lead on it, but it was American fighter jets that actually shot it down.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And then now there's the Lake Huron one.
The Lake Huron.
Unbelievable. And then there's the U2.
And then there's the U2. We'll get to that in a second here.
Okay.
With the Lake Huron one, there was reports on late Saturday of objects flying over Montana, and a squadron was dispatched from Portland to investigate. And from what I was able to gather from... Yeah, Portland's on the coast.
So I'm just thinking like Portland, Montana, Lake Huron. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, you folks can't see me, and I'm mapping it out with my hand in the air. And he stopped to look at me because I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, but anyway.
Right. So apparently the fighter planes from Portland were sent to investigate over Montana, but apparently they tracked it for some time, but then it went dark, and then it reappeared hours later over Lake Michigan.
Okay.
And over Michigan, and then eventually over Lake Huron, which is all in the same sort of area.
Yeah, if you folks know the Great Lakes region.
And
Should we mention what our coffee is today? After all, we are supposed to be science versus conspiracy over coffee.
What are we drinking today? Because yesterday when I started, I was drinking one thing.
And now we're drinking another.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what it is?
This is Blends.
This is the Blends blend.
This is Blends Klondike, right? Nice dark roast. This is not sponsored, by the way. So Blends, go ahead and sponsor us if you want to. We just love our coffee. That's why we're talking about it.
Oh, we do. Need some more pretty soon.
Yeah. We got to stay awake to monitor all these UAPs.
It's been a weekend.
Yeah.
Because not only was there multiple sightings over Canada and the US and North America over the weekend, there's reports that China had some spotting of UAPs.
Now you had read some thoughts on this, but I don't want to derail you where you were going with the conversation. I first interrupted about the coffee.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're going to get to that.
Well, I was just going to say so they're being spotted all over the world.
Yeah.
Back on I posted about it earlier, or I guess later yesterday, about earlier or late January, Russia apparently shot down something over the Ukraine,
Okay.
being some sort of UFO shiny object that kind of matches the description.
Over Ukraine.
Over Ukraine. And now these objects are being seen over North America. And as you heard in one of the clips earlier, from that was a clip from the press conference, the DoD press conference on Sunday, that they're not ruling out anything. And they specifically asked them about, is this aliens, UFO, is this extraterrestrials? And he said, I'm not ruling anything out.
To me, that is absolutely wild. When I heard that, I was like, wow, things just got real. Like, that is just, for them to actually say that, because more often than not, they take a very firm stance that, this is what it is. Or I guess I should say that it's not alien. It's like throughout time, it's been a very firm stance that things have not been alien. And to actually hear them say they're not ruling anything out was just wild.
Yeah, and the propulsion system, they couldn't identify it, and they don't know how it was floating in the air.
Or by whom. They said
don't associate it with any country.
Yeah.
Because they don't know. And part of it, yeah, I kind of get it that it's being, they're shot down and they're trying to recover the debris. So they don't want to make any kind of claims and say, yes, it was a Chinese weather balloon or drone or something like that. So I get that. But
well, yeah, because they don't want to start World War III. Like, we're already on the precipice of World War III because of Russia and Ukraine. So like adding to it anything else, tensions are already high around the world.
Right. And that could all be playing into this. Like, there's like I started going into it earlier on in this podcast, and I'm not sure how I'm going to edit it because this has been over 2 days with a lot more information. So one of the theories that I've been reading about and somewhat agree with is that, yeah, obviously this isn't an alien invasion. Even though I think we all would like to see the government come out and acknowledge the existence of extraterrestrials.
Yes and no. I just got to put a pin in that for a second.
Okay.
Because, yes, we would all love to hear the government say that. Mm-hmm. But also, that actually would be really quite scary. Like, it'd be amazing, but also really scary.
Well, if this is aliens, they've shot down at least 4 that we know of. That's not that doesn't look good,
right? Like, this would be start of an intergalactic war,
right? And yeah, according to this time traveling TikToker that I talked about in another episode, that he says that we are due for an alien invasion or multi-dimensional alien invasion sometime in February, March of this year. So just
anyway, going back to what you were saying.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So put that into perspective, or just hold on to that for a second.
Yeah.
And with the U2 thing for a second, and these things that are flying over, supposedly over China and other parts of the world. What this is most likely to be is a huge operation from the DoD manipulating the narrative of what these things actually are, because we have spy balloons and spy planes and spy satellites all over the world.
Right.
It's not just China putting balloons up and it's like, oh, we don't do that. We do that.
Right.
And we, excuse me, and the U.S. is, especially the U.S. military, have been engaged in these exercises for a very long time. So one of the things that I have been reading a lot about is that they shot down one of their own drones.
Who's they?
The U.S., NATO, and
Just I'm just making it
Yeah.
clear for the listeners because I know what you're saying.
yeah, the U.S. shot down one of their own drones, blamed it on China, and that's what's going to happen with these other 3 or 4 that they've come across and shot down. They're going to blame it on China and Russia because they need to deny what China is seeing over their skies, which is U.S. surveillance. And there's something like 190-ish UFO or UAP reports that they can't explain.
Who's they?
The DoD.
Okay.
And the UAP report that was released, there was a number of sightings that they just can't verify. And the UFO Tic Tac incident a few years ago, all these reports, they can't come out and say that it's UFOs. But this, if they're because they're using very specific language.
Okay.
In the press conferences and just the way that they're wording everything. So these 190 odd UFO sightings, UAP sightings that they can't explain away as other aerial phenomenon like planes, or not even phenomenon, but just like something that's real.
Yeah.
There's a number that they can't explain. So if they say at first that these things are unidentified objects, it kind of lends it to the credibility of these other unidentified objects that they can't explain away. Maybe it is just a Chinese weather balloon. And like I think I did another post that like for 75 years we've been trained to think about weather balloons. Everything's a weather balloon.
Right.
All these crashes.
How many of these have actually been weather balloons?
Weather balloons, exactly.
How many? We don't know.
We don't know. So these objects, are they highly classified spy satellites, spy balloons, other spy drones from China, from the U.S., from Russia? Even North Korea isn't out of the picture here.
Okay, so you're saying that the timing of all this is not coincidental to the report that was released in late 2022 about all of the unidentified objects.
Right. So yeah, exactly. That's part one. And then there's a number of misdirections that the DoD is trying to distract us from.
Okay, because what you told me off air yesterday, you were thinking that, and you had seen somebody else, and you were echoing that you believe this, perhaps, that they're talking about these unidentified objects and the Chinese spy balloon, but what they actually might be are their own objects that they've put up and shot down. And the reason that they're putting them up and shooting them down is to set like a baseline of US not knowing what's up there, so that then when they are sending all of these to China, they're like, well, we don't know what they are. They're not ours, because look at all the ones that fell down here that we shot down because we didn't know what they were. But meanwhile, it's all just a covert operation. It actually was their own stuff that they sent up and then shot down to build the story, to build the baseline.
Yes, exactly. So that's one. That's one of the misdirections.
That's one of the misdirections.
Theories. Right, and there's the timing of some other things like the classified documents that they've been finding in the residence of President Biden. That's getting a little bit of coverage, and then this happens, so that dominates the news cycle.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
The Epstein list documents are being released. That was barely covered.
So okay, so when you're talking about misdirections,
Yeah.
you're really thinking about taking away from all the crap that's going on otherwise.
Yeah, and the Nord Stream
Okay.
pipeline explosion in late December.
Yeah, so did I just totally steal your thunder there with the story over China?
No, you didn't steal my thunder, because that's all hand in hand with what's going on. Because if they can be spying on China and Russia with unidentified objects,
Yeah.
and they've already established that there's some weird unidentified objects flying over North America, then there's this whole what's going on. It's not our UFO or
Right.
our drones flying over China.
Right.
It's these unidentified objects. And if that's the news story, because people love UFOs and they would love to hear about making contact with aliens, but if they can be very vague in their descriptions and
Yeah.
and timing and letting it kind of drag out and that sort of thing, as long as it keeps in the news cycle and it keeps some of these other stories out or on page 6,
Right.
then the job is done. Like, the government and the military, they're master magicians. Like, you gotta, if this is what's really happening, you gotta kind of admire
what they're
doing,
achieving here, yeah.
because it's like it's the sleight of hand. Look at what the left hand's doing, while the right hand is doing something completely different.
And you know what's really funny, folks, is we are very behind the times in our television viewing. We've talked about it before, how, like we recently talked about watching Travelers well after that had ended, etc. But we're watching Veep right now. And if you've never seen it, it is just brilliant. But you also have to go back and watch In the Loop and The Thick of It. But anyway, that's a little bit of a digression, but it shows you just how much there is with the misinformation and distraction campaigns in the government. And it's brilliant what they do.
Mm-hmm. And even if it's obviously a comedy and set in a fictional world, but I don't doubt for one second that kind of maneuvering happens behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, it's based on something.
Yeah.
Right? Where, like, none of this is just total fiction out of somebody's head. Like, it's based on something.
Mm-hmm.
All the politics is based on something.
Yep. And then just to go back to the U2 thing for a second, that's just crazy timing.
Yeah, unbelievable. Tell folks in case they don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, so if you don't know, I'll put a link in the show notes to this Actung Baby special tour that they're doing in Vegas at the Sphere. And yesterday, I guess at the Super Bowl, they released this video, a 3-minute long mini movie commercial for it, and it talks about strange cylindrical things in the sky and hovering over cities.
Well, it's a sphere. It's a literal sphere.
Yeah.
It's not even a cylinder. It's a sphere. And it's like, it's the little mini movie is played out like they're actual news reports of a sphere traveling through the sky in various countries throughout the world. It focuses in on someone in Ireland and someone in Paris, and it's showing how these people are like, well, I don't want to give it away, but it focuses on this sphere traveling around the world. And what is this unidentified object that everybody's seeing? What is it?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and obviously this video wasn't put together in the last week. It's a whole concert and a whole thing that's been been in the works for quite a long time. But the timing that it's released and what's going on, you kind of gotta wonder. And besides, like, with Bono's status within the elite community, you gotta wonder if somehow it's not tied to it.
It's just like the timing is just incredible. It's so bizarre. It's unbelievable. And obviously this has been in the works for a long time. So like it made me wonder right away when we were watching it, what were they thinking with the news reports over the last week? Were they thinking, wow, we can't believe our luck, that this is going to get even more attention now because of the spheres and the cylinders and the balloons that we're already shooting down. So this is feeding into the frenzy. What a great time this is for you two to be to be launching this. And just so you folks understand, the Sphere is based on, like, there's actually a Sphere concert hall that they've put in at the Venetian in Las Vegas. But what must the ad agency who came up with this concept and the people of the Venetian themselves with the Sphere concert hall, like, what must they be thinking right now? Like, this is just unbelievable timing.
Well, I'd like to go back in and see when the deal was actually made.
Oh, I can tell you.
Oh, you got it?
Well, I'll dig it up again because I was reading about the history of it. So keep talking.
Right. So it'd be interesting because you say what's the ad agency thinking and what's the band thinking. It probably went down like, hey, Bono, here's a couple $1 million. There's going to be some stuff coming out over the next couple of months. How'd you like to do this specific type of concert?
Yeah, so the reports first hit the news that they were going to be opening the Sphere, that U2 was going to be the band chosen to open the Sphere. The Sphere opens fall of this year. I think the concert is this fall. I can't remember the month. But the news hit in July of 2022.
So perhaps this has all been in the plans, in the works since at least July 2022.
Well, plans for the venue?
Well, plans for the venue, but plans...
2018.
2018. No,
for the venue.
For the venue, but I mean for the concert and to open it and to announce it right now.
Since July 2022.
Right.
Yeah.
So what else is, if this is all kind of working as a distraction campaign, some of the stuff has been working, I guess, since July 2022, and I guess the irony isn't lost with it being a U2 concert with the U2 spy plane and surveillance and all that.
Yeah, I knew you'd hit on that too. Like, just, it's unbelievable. I can't stop saying it, but so many weird things are coming together, tying together right now. And I'm sitting here looking at you while we're recording this podcast, and right behind you is the I Want to Believe poster that features prominently throughout the X-Files. And it's bizarre, man. Mm-hmm. And as the science voice of this podcast, I have nothing. Like, I'm sure it all there's all good reasons, well planned for the U2 concert and whatever's going on with the government agencies. Just wow, the timing, and I can't wait to see what's happening with all of these UAPs. I can't wait.
And even if it turns out that they are actual spy balloons or surveillance balloons or whatever from whatever country, that's still a huge issue. Why haven't we been able to detect them? It's a huge blind spot on North American security.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's a little scary.
Yeah, and I also heard reports that they've been sifting through a lot of the data over the last couple of years, and they found some other anomalies that could have been spy balloons. They had the same sort of signature, I guess. But at the time, they weren't looking for it. I heard on the news that they were the monitoring systems aren't really geared and programmed to monitor something that small. They're looking for the ICBM explosions, launches, and that sort of thing.
So the aliens could know this and capitalize on it and be sending small things because the government was. look at who's the conspiracy theory one now.
Here. I'm talking about regular surveillance, and you're talking about UFOs.
Yeah, look at that.
Aliens.
The tables. How the turn tables.
How the turn tables. The story is developing, and I will try to keep up to date, keep all of you up to date on our Twitter account. So if you're not following us, go check us out for constant updates on this. And whether it turns out to be a weather balloon or some sort of alien craft, we'll let you know as soon as we know anything.
So yeah, this has been science on this side of things, telling you to stay curious but rely on the facts. But here in this case, we're waiting for more facts to come out.
So that's it for right now. Being paranoid is smart, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. This week's episode of Science vs. Conspiracy Over Coffee was produced by Lethologica. Research and writing was done by Bob Homer and Jennifer Timer.